So on Friday, you will not be debating in front of all 60 scholars. That would take a really long time. So we're going to cut you all in half and have 30 of you debate in one breakout room, and the other 30 will be in the other breakout room. So it'll be in two groups. We will have outside volunteer judges who will listen to your debates and choose a winner. So just so you know, you'll be debating in front of the LEAP staff, the Daniel Murphy staff, your peers, and some volunteer judges. But the judges won't be the only ones selecting a winner, because we also love to get the student vote for our debates as well. So when teams are debating, the winners will be determined by our judges and by the students. Lastly, I don't know if you recall that I mentioned on day one that we were using your initial 1-minute speeches to evaluate your speech goals before the program. Well, Friday, we will be using your debates to look at your speech goals after having gone through a week with us at Language for Scholars. So we'll be doing your final evaluations on Friday during your debates. So we are doing these virtually. That means some things are going to be a little bit different. Regardless of in-person or online, we would like for you to kind of choose something to wear that day that's a little bit like business casual. So it doesn't have to be a suit, but maybe you have a shirt with a collar or a nice blouse, or a tie if you feel like it, but something that shows that you're there and you're ready to show that you are the winning team. So you want your appearance to match your great debate and speech skills. Now, whatever you can do to meet that, is just do your best, okay? We just want you to know to be mindful of that, and we'll talk about that a little bit throughout the week also. Now, you know as well as I do that when we are on Zoom, we're just lots of little squares on the screen. This means that we're all in different order on the screen. So it's going to be very important in your debate teams that you know where your order is in terms of your presentation, so that when you can hear the speaker before you stopping, you know it's your turn to begin, because you may not your square may not be next to there. So just make sure you got your order down and you're aware of when it's your turn. So again, just like we talked about today when we talked about body language, we would like you to kind of experiment with where you can put your device so that we can see you from the torso up as much as possible, as best as you can. But that way we could see you using that great body language, and we could see how spiffy you look, and it will just give us a better view into all the great speech goals that you're using. We recognize that you won't have the opportunity to work in person with your teams. So I want you to be thinking about how can you strategize with your team using virtual platforms. Are you going to set up a group text? Are you going to use some kind of social media? How will you all communicate outside of the Language for Scholars program? And it would be important for the whole Language for Scholars program, but especially your debate, for you to find a place to deliver your argument where we'll be able to see your face. So you want to make sure you avoid bright light in the background that will darken your face. You want to go to a place where when you see your face, we can actually see your facial expressions and it's not dark. This can be challenging, I understand, but please do your best. All right, now let's talk about the roles of the debate. So there are 5 roles in the debate. There's the introduction, there's the first argument, the second argument, the third argument, and lastly, the rebuttal. So note that there will be at least one person on your team that will have more than one role. No matter how you decide to parse it out, we need an individual to give us an introduction. We need 3 reasons, and we need someone to do the rebuttal. You can decide that when we work with you in your groups on day 3 of this program. So again, when someone is taking on two roles, they might do the introduction and an argument, or they might do the introduction and a rebuttal. You can decide, but just be mindful that these are the roles of the debate teams. Most of your debate teams have 4 individuals on there. Some of them will have 3. All right, so now let me tell you about the layout of the debate. So there'll be one topic, of course, and 2 teams, pro and con. And when we do our debates, we will start with the pro side. The pro side will begin with their introduction, which we would like to be no more than 30 seconds, but we would like you to be creative. So you don't have to go up there and say, we think that schools should reopen in the fall. You could do a little skit. You could start it with a story. You could start it with a quote or a rhetorical question. In some cases, we've had students use props. So one year we had the debate topic of whether or not you should sell junk food in schools. So one student got up there with a bag of Cheetos and he crushed the Cheetos in his hand and he said, "This is junk." And that's how they opened their debate. Now, don't worry, he saved the Cheetos and was able to eat them. But the idea is you can be as creative as you'd like with your introduction, as long as it's relatively short. So again, we don't really want those going beyond 30 seconds. After your introduction, we are going to hear your 3 arguments. Each argument needs to be 2 minutes long. That is what we're aiming for, okay? So after we hear each one of those arguments that are 2 minutes long, we will hear from the con side. The con side will give us their introduction and their 3 arguments. At that point, you will have 2 minutes to gather your thoughts so that the individual delivering their rebuttal will have time to think about how they can reply to the other team's argument. This is where it will be important if you've already determined how you're going to communicate with your team. Because if you have some ideas that you want to send to the person doing the rebuttal, you will do it in those 2 minutes. After that 2-minute brainstorming time, the con side will go first in presenting their rebuttal. And then after that, the pro side will give us their rebuttal. Remember, you're not talking to each other so much as you're presenting to us on Zoom. So we don't want you to do your rebuttal by making it more of a dialogue. It's going to be a presentation from the con side and then a presentation from the pro side. After that, we'll take our vote from our judges and from the students. So when you think about ordering your arguments, you want to make sure that you have 3 different arguments. Sometimes you might be brainstorming and then you realize that some of your arguments sound really similar. So you want to kind of think about that as you're brainstorming arguments and determining which ones you would like to use for your debate. And the LEAP staff is happy to help you if you are having difficulty thinking of some reasons, and if you are not sure if some of your arguments might be too similar. When you are ordering your arguments for the debate, we suggest that you use this order. Start with the strong argument, put your weakest argument in the middle, and end with your strongest argument, because that is the last thing you'll say, which is what people are most likely to remember. Of course, based on your Clear Thoughts and Ideas workshop, we definitely want to see you using those Tier 2 and Tier 3 vocabulary words, as well as complex sentences. When you are creating your arguments and presenting your arguments, of course, we want you to use your speech goals. And by now, by the time you're watching this video, you will have learned about registers. So you know that when you're presenting this debate, you are going to use the formal register, which includes speech goals and Tier 2 vocabulary. We also want you to do some research for your argument. So you can include statistics, personal stories, cited stories, where perhaps you found an article in the New York Times. Perhaps you found a research article that talks about something for your debate. And you say, according to research by Smith, from the University of Texas, blah, 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 blah. So you want to make sure that you look for that kind of research. And also look at how you're ordering your argument, and you all can help each other with that. So make sure that it's clear, it makes sense, and of course there's lots of detail. So remember what we talked about with register. So for this particular exercise, because you're not having a dialogue, but you need to express a lot of information to an unknown audience, you will be using that formal academic register. That means you will have to use your speech goals. You'll have to be careful in how you plan and present your ideas. You'll have to include facts, and you'll want to be able to prepare your information in a way that if you can anticipate questions that someone might have, you could provide some of those answers in your argument. And do you have a goal? Of course you do. It's to beat the other team and be the debate victor. This is what that assignment will look like. It's actually a Google Doc, but I just wanted to show you this so you could see how that outline is going to look. And the idea here is that you would be able to create some arguments that you can share with your team on Wednesday for your topic, so that you can compare everybody's reasons and select the 3 that you all think are the strongest. So if there are 4 members of your team, by the time you get together on Wednesday, you will be bringing 12 ideas together. And from those 12 ideas, you will be able to select 3 arguments that you're going to use in your debate. Of course, we're here to answer any questions. If any of this was not clear, please reach out. Here is my email, nina@leapempowers.org, and Mr. Moses' email, gregory@leapempowers.org. We will also have designated time for you to practice on Wednesday with LEAP staff, as well as opportunities for you to schedule office hours with your team so you can practice one-on-one, one LEAP staff with your debate team online. All right, so we'll tell you a little bit more about that tomorrow afternoon and Wednesday. And most of all, we can't wait to see you do your thing. So I hope that this gave you some clarity around how these debates will work. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and I will see you all later. Bye.